Tonight, the world is watching as Israel is on edge. This hours after a surprise attack by Hamas out of Gaza. Israel says at least 250 people have been killed and 1,500 wounded, making it the deadliest attack in years. Reaction is pouring in from all over, including from the White House and President Joe Biden.
Moment of tragedy, I want to say to them and to the world and to terrorists everywhere that the United States stands with Israel.
As the number of casualties rises, there are also hostages involved. Israeli civilians and soldiers forced to travel across the border to Gaza. Their fate unknown right now. NBC's Raf Sanchez is on the ground in southern Israel and has the latest.
Israel tonight is living through a nightmare it cannot seem to wake up from. This surprise attack began at 6 a.m. local time. It is now past midnight, and this violent, chaotic situation is still unfolding. Hundreds of Palestinian militants early this morning surging through the border fence into towns and communities across southern Israel. Squads of Palestinian gunmen on the streets, taking hostages, shooting people, engaging in gun battles with Israeli forces. There has been massive loss of life over the course of the day. Israel's foreign ministry says more than 200 Israelis have been killed, although many people here suspect that that death toll will rise further still. But beyond the loss of life, there is a hostage situation unfolding on a scale perhaps unlike anything Israel has ever seen before. Israeli security officials say that inside of Israel, there are still areas where Palestinian gunmen are holding Israelis hostage at gunpoint. They are surrounded at this stage by Israeli special forces. But even more complicated than that, Israel's military says there are both Israeli soldiers and civilians who have been taken captive by Hamas, by Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and carried over the border into Gaza, where they are being held. And it is the fact that there are Israeli citizens on the wrong side of the Gaza border tonight that will be weighing so heavily on the minds of Israeli decision makers from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on down as they decide their next moves.
That was NBC's Raf Sanchez reporting. The Israeli military has said all options are on the table, including a full-scale ground invasion of Gaza in order to find these Israeli citizens and bring them home. For some perspective, Gaza is one of the most densely populated places on earth. There are 2 million Palestinian civilians living under the rule of Palestinian militants. And as the world reacts to the war overseas, so does Northeast Ohio. Emma Henderson has the various local reactions to the attacks on Israel.
We break our Shabbat silence because we awoke this morning to a living nightmare. That's how the Jewish Federation of Cleveland begins their letter to the community following a deadly terrorist attack against Israel by extremist group Hamas. They are planning a special gathering this upcoming Monday for the community to be together, and have also started a fund. This is their immediate reaction captured on social media earlier today, asking for people to pray. Cleveland area Rabbi Rick Block spends several months out of the year in Jerusalem, today worshiping in the synagogue's bomb shelter during a Jewish holiday. Here's what he's been seeing and hearing.
It's been a long day. It started off this morning with sirens going off constantly and some loud explosive sounds that sounded like the Iron Dome rockets intercepting rockets that were fired toward Jerusalem.
His concerns are with people who live even closer to where the attacks took place.
There's a tremendous amount of shock, and I think it's fair to say anger that this caught Israel's military and government by surprise. It's just a day after 50 years from the Yom Kippur War when another sneak attack happened here.
And many more have offered their condolences, expressed dismay, and other statements. But for those impacted, the biggest question is, what will tomorrow bring?
This is a quickly developing story, and the Jewish Federation of Cleveland is not the only group holding a community gathering. coming up next week. We'll have all those details available right now at WKYC.com.
All right, Emma, thank you so much. And in response to the attack on Israel, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine declared today a day of prayer for Israel. The governor says tomorrow will also be a day of prayer as Ohioans reflect on the conflict and hope for a peaceful resolution overseas.